Welcome everyone to another episode of the Social Impact Journal. My name is Jack Farron and I'm your host. This is the podcast where I talk to the founders, innovators and academics that are driving positive change in our world. Today I'm talking to Young Kafwembe, a good friend of mine and also a colleague, about his experiences of studying a PhD in the UK and his tips for all of you listening. Young, welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Jack. I'm fine, thank you, and excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's go from the start. So I know you're from Zambia.
Yes.
So before you did your PhD and came to the UK, what were you doing back in Zambia?
Oh, thank you. So in Zambia, I grew up in a mining town called Mufulira. That's where I did my primary and secondary school. Then in 2007, I went to university at a nearby town within the Copper Belt, which is called the Copper Belt University.
Yeah.
That's where I did my degree in banking and finance. So I graduated in 2011. And the same year, the university employed me as staff development fellow, which is an entry point for a lecturer. Then in 2012, I came here to the UK to do my master's at the University of Essex through the sponsorship of the same university. So I did my master's between 2012 and 2013, then went back in 2013 upon completing my master's. The same year, I was appointed as a lecturer and started teaching undergraduate banking and finance courses. So I've been teaching from 2013 to 2019 when I embarked on my PhD journey. So awesome. I've devoted most of my career as an academic and more recently, I just finished my PhD.
Awesome. So you came from the Copper Belt region in Zambia. I've been to Zambia a few times, but I've not been to the Copper Belt. So what was it like growing up in the region?
Yeah, so Copper Belt, as the name suggests, it means copper. So Zambia is known for copper production, and as per World Bank ranking, it's number 4 in the world in terms of copper production. So Copper Belt is a hub for copper mining. So all the copper that Zambia produces, most of it comes from the Copper Belt. So growing up there, my childhood was more devoted to education, going to the farm. If I'm not in school, I would go to the farm because both my mom and dad were small-scale farmers. So if we're not doing school, then we'll go to the farm to the farming to help out. Then also one of the activities that I was highly involved is church activities, because the household was a devoted Catholic household. So I think 3 major activities define my childhood: education, going to the farm, and church activities.
Awesome. Okay, so I think it'll be interesting to kind of circle back, because I know your PhD was on international and rural development, and engaging with people in the Copper Belt region and also small scale farmers. But before that, you mentioned you studied your masters in the University of Essex in the UK. Yes. So how did that come about?
Well, so like I mentioned, when I got employed as a staff development fellow, so that's an entry point for a lecturer.
Okay.
And by Zambian standards, then for someone to be a lecturer, they need a master's. So the university had what they were calling a staff development program. So once they employ you in that program, then they give you a scholarship to do a master's degree. So my coming here to do my master's at the University of Essex was sponsored by the Copper Belt University under the staff development program.
Right, okay. So you came 2012. How did you find it when you got to the UK?
It was exciting, at the same time challenging, because it was my first time traveling for a long period out of my home country. So I had to adapt to weather conditions, I had to adapt to culture.
How cold was it?
Exactly. Yes. So I think studying here, both I think my master's and now my PhD,
Yeah.
it's about adaptability.
Mm.
Yes, so yeah, adapted. The quality of education was excellent. I learned a lot, and I think my thinking was transformed. But again, it wasn't just about academic. Yeah, there were social aspects like knowing people, learning about other cultures. And also back home, I'm a huge football fan of the English Premier League. So coming here, and I first visited the Emirates Stadium in 2012. Yes, so it was something that was memorable.
Yeah.
Yes, when I look back at it.
So you're an Arsenal fan?
No, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but a Manchester United fan.
So you went to the Emirates?
I went to the Emirates because by then I didn't know how to get my way around the UK.
Yeah.
So the people who, the friends in Essex organized a trip, most of them were Arsenal fans, and it was the nearest to Essex.
Yeah.
Yes, but regardless of the team I support, I think just being at the stadium in the EPL league is something that I found so fulfilling.
I remember you sent me a photo before. You were at a Reading match. So maybe this is in your PhD days now. So now, maybe in 2024, who do you support? Maybe Reading or still Man United?
I remain Man United, but being in Reading, I think everywhere I go, for community activities, I hugely support.
Yeah.
So being in Reading, I feel obliged to support the teams and the activities around that community. So I used to watch a number of Reading FC games last season. Yes, as part of supporting the community.
Yeah,
yes.
Nice. Okay, so in preparation for going to Reading for your PhD, I know on LinkedIn I see you're giving a lot of tips now to people that are potentially applying for scholarships for PhDs and looking into this. I know it can be very complicated. So kind of break this down. What was the process when you first thought, I want to do a PhD, then deciding the UK would be the right location, and how did you actually apply for scholarships?
Oh, well, that's a good question, Jack. So when I finished my master's, I knew that I'll be an academic. So I started teaching in 2013, like I mentioned. 2 years later, in 2015, I started applying for scholarship. For PhD admissions as well as scholarships. And the reason was I wanted to be relevant. I knew with my master's degree I had caps in terms of doing research. And as time went by, the rules, the regulation regarding higher education keeps on changing. So the requirement now, as we speak, for someone to teach in the Zambian university is PhD.
Right, okay.
So I was being futuristic.
Yeah.
Like since I was seeing myself as an academic, I wanted to prepare so that I'm relevant in the future. Yeah. So in 2013, I started applying for PhD admission and scholarships. So there are two things. So PhD admission, I think my experience, I didn't have major challenges because it's quite straightforward because all universities have got some sort of a guidance or a criteria, which varies across different universities. So I started looking for a supervisor because PhD is research, so you need to have a supervisor. So I started looking for a supervisor on the website of different universities.
Yep.
Then I came across my current supervisor at the University of Reading because my research interests, what I wanted to research about, were aligned to what she's interested in.
Yep.
I sent her an email and to several other universities. Yes, and I even had admission actually for about 4 universities in the UK.
Wow.
PhD admission. Yep. But the challenge was the funding.
Yeah.
You can have admission, but funding is a challenge. So I started applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship. But then I only knew of one scholarship which I wanted to fund my PhD, which is the Commonwealth Scholarship funded by the UK government. So I attempted in 2015. I was rejected. 2016, I was rejected. 2017, rejected. I was successful on the fourth attempt, 2018.
Wow.
Yes. So
was there a difference in the application? What was different on the fourth time?
Yes. So what was happening was, those times I was rejected, I took them positively, like were learning curves. And what I realized when I looked at, for example, the first application had gaps in terms of explaining what the impact for my research would be, who the beneficiaries were. So the development angle of my application wasn't convincing. And so those moments, I took them as a way of refining, looking back and reflecting and thinking about how can I make the development aspect of my application more convincing. Because the mission of the Commonwealth Scholarship is to enhance or address development challenges through education.
For sure.
And that's why they sponsor students from developing countries to come to the UK to get the knowledge and the skills so that they are equipped to solve challenges. So it is natural that in the application process, that development aspect should come out clearly. And I saw, I think, in my 3 applications, that's where I was missing out.
Okay.
Yes.
So on number 4, then, you were very specific about the beneficiaries and about the impact that the research could have.
Yes. I identified the target group. It was about identifying what is a problem and how do I position myself as a solution. So it was about looking at the national, development plans for Zambia, the challenges that are there, the main issues, and coming up with a research that will provide insights to address those challenges. So growing up in the Copper Belt, one of the challenges that I saw, and it was actually my motivation to do PhD research on financial inclusion and youth entrepreneurship. High youth unemployment remains a challenge even now in Zambia. And young people in the Copper Belt are disproportionately affected by the unemployment challenge because, in the past, they have historically depended on employment in the mines as a livelihood source. But starting in the late 1990s, there's been a decline in the mining industry, which implied reduced employment opportunities and also job losses. So young people have to look for alternative livelihoods. And on the extreme side, the negative side of that is that other young people, are involved in criminal activities, others in prostitution, just to get a livelihood. So there's a lot at stake, which I saw. And doing a PhD on an issue that, I've seen and experienced is something that I wanted as a way to provide insights that can inform interventions that can support young people with diversified livelihoods away from mining.
So let's kind of dive into that research now. So it's the link between financial inclusion and youth unemployment in the region. So I know you went to Zambia to do your field work. So what exactly were you collecting in terms of data and the research outputs?
Yes. So thank you for that. So my research aim was to investigate the role of financial access in supporting entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And to answer to address that objective, I needed to be on the ground to talk to these entrepreneurs who are affected by the challenges. So in 2021, I traveled back for my field work, which is part of the PhD requirements at the University of Reading. So I went there for 6 months, went in the field, interacted with these young people. They spoke about the challenges, the opportunities. I also interacted with stakeholders who have oversight of young people, like community leaders. I talked to financiers, microfinance managers. I talked to bank people from the banking sector.
Yep.
So the idea was to get the narratives, the stories, the real stories within the context of Copper Belt around livelihoods and financial access.
I know in November you defended your thesis. So what were the key findings from your research?
Yes, thank you, Jack. So the key finding of my research is that financial inclusion, which involves access to different financial services, is a necessary condition to support youth entrepreneurship, but not sufficient because of these broader structural factors.
Yeah.
So young people can be given access to financial services, but what I found is that they lack skills, entrepreneurial skills.
Okay.
Then also there are gender and cultural factors that hinders that transformative effect of financial access. Then also context challenges. What I found was within the Copper Belt, entrepreneurship is emerging as a big alternative livelihood source, but it depends on the strength of the local mining economy. So even if young people are given access to financial services, the declining mining economy implies that they might not be successful entrepreneurs. So we need to think in terms of approaches to address the financial access challenges and entrepreneurship. We need to think about measures that combine financial access as well as these broader factors like skills development, can be digital skills, and also addressing, I think, the business environment.
Yeah. So access to financial services is a complementing factor, but it's not the be-all and end-all in terms of promoting youth entrepreneurship in the region.
Yes. That's the conclusion from my research. So access to financial services is necessary, but not sufficient because there are these broader factors that affect entrepreneurship.
Dr. Young, a few quick-fire questions. In terms of resources when applying for scholarships, you mentioned you only knew of one scholarship, the Commonwealth Scholarship. Yes. Do you think there's resources out there, or is it really a challenge for potential PhD applicants to know what's going on and be able to apply? What can be done more in making those information available?
Yes, so I'm passionate actually about providing information about scholarships. And that's the reason why on my LinkedIn, I devote part of my time to writing posts about scholarship application, PhD. Yeah. It's because there's information gaps, especially for prospective students in developing countries. Most of them want to do PhDs, but they don't know how to go about it. Most of them want scholarships, but they don't know how to make scholarships that can make them get the scholarship. So I provide those tips to address that information asymmetry challenge.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. We'll make sure to link your LinkedIn account in the show notes, and for those watching on YouTube, you can see Young's LinkedIn channel running at the side of your screen. Another one is around when you arrive in the country to do your PhD, how important is volunteering opportunities? I know you are volunteering with the International Finance and Banking Society and within the University of Reading as well. What did those experiences give you?
Well, so I've had uh, uh, volunteering experiences, like you said, within the university and outside. So I can mention a few. So in 2020, I was coordinator for the PhD-led seminars for the Department of International Development. Also volunteered for the Development Studies Association as a conference organizer, and the IFABs, the one we talked about, for a conference in Oxford. And also for rural inclusion, where the CEO. So what I've seen from my volunteering experiences is that, it offers these opportunities like for networking, skills development, for example, communication. In one of the volunteering I did with the University of Reading, which involved organizing a PhD conference, I was in charge of communication, sending emails to students, providing information about the conference. So over time, what I realized is that enhanced my communication skills, and also getting to know, wider people, their perspectives, and meeting like people who I've seen like in books, meeting them, face to face. So I think volunteering is important in these aspects.
Yeah. Young, what's next? You finished the PhD a few months ago. What's the plan?
Well, yeah. So my next immediate plans, is that I want to continue using the skills that I've acquired, the knowledge, to continue impacting society through teaching in higher education, university. I want to continue as an academic. Also, I want to continue mentoring PhD students by giving them tips on how to apply for scholarships, and also how to apply for PhD admission. Then lastly, I want to be an advocate for financial inclusion. The PhD research experience has, exposed me to a lot of, insights, information. So I want to use that to inform interventions around financial inclusion, to inform policy. So those are the things that I'm looking at in the short term to immediate term.
Awesome. Yeah. I wanted to pick your brains on something I read in the news, and this was from the British government about changes to the rules of students coming from abroad and being able to bring their families with them during their study. Does this affect masters, PhD, everything, or is it only limited to certain qualifications?
Yes.
And kind of, what's happening there?
Yeah. So I think that the only limitation is for masters. I think the ones undergraduate and masters. For PhD, I think they are allowed to come with their families. But masters, I think beginning this year, the rules are that you can't come with the family here.
How do you think that will affect, numbers? Because I've read some articles from universities that are really not happy with that news. So do you think that will affect master students coming to the UK and looking elsewhere, or with masters being only a 1 year, maybe it won't be a huge effect?
The effect might be there in terms of, because different applicants have got different circumstances. There are those who want to come with families, and that might not sit well with them. Yes, but I think based on my experience as a master's student here, I think coming with a family is something that I think can take a toll on your academic performance, because 1 year is too short and the master's is intensive.
Yeah.
So, planning for that, looking at the costs involved, I think it's the rule or the changes is for me, it's from the academic point of view, it's something I think that can give space for master students to focus more on why they are here, which is academics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Young, I know you've been to a number of countries as part of your research, different projects. Is there one particular country that you've travelled to that is your favourite, that you have fond memories of?
Well, yeah, first, more broadly, living here in the UK, it's something that is memorable. But within this, when I traveled to Ethiopia, that's why I met you physically. I think that conference remains one of, I think, the best conferences I've attended by the Royal Academy of Engineering. And the reason is that first it was well organized, the insights that were there, the people, the networking, and how we've not just ended we've continued to engage. It didn't just end in Ethiopia. Up to now, I'm in touch with you. I'm in touch with a number of people who I met in the conference. So I think the Ethiopia one remains one of
that was a pretty fun event.
Conference.
Yeah, that was good fun. Look, I think there's been so many helpful tips to potential PhD applicants in this episode. But if you were to have your own social impact journal and you could just write, one paragraph or one page with one piece of advice for someone that is considering, applying for a PhD in the UK, what would you say to them in terms of what to do next?
Yes. So that's a good question. I think given the nature of PhDs, the PhD studies in the UK, it's demanding and also takes quite a substantial time, 3 to 5 years time. So my number one advice is, I think interest should be key. If you're thinking about doing a PhD, you need to think about a research area or field which you're passionate about. Because there are ups and downs during the PhD journey. And in those moments when you feel low, your interest, the interest that you have in your particular field, it's what will keep you moving. Then also, for those applying, to have a mentor. I think for me, the mistake I made in the first 3 attempts of my scholarship is lack of consultation. If you've got someone who has been there, was applied, and they look at your application, it becomes so helpful to make it more appealing, more convincing, and to just get the general tips on how they were successful, how they went about it. So mentorship is key.
How do you find a mentor? Are they coming from the university, or what tips would you say for someone that is applying that maybe doesn't know anyone that has gone through that process before? How can they find a mentor?
Yes, so this time around, I think with social media, the mentorship landscape has changed. There's so much, resources, tips about PhD. Can be on LinkedIn, even on YouTube. So while myself in my time, I think that the digital world wasn't advanced as now. In my time, I used a mentor within the university, my university back home. So they're the ones who guided me, who used to give me feedback about my application. But now, I think one of the pathways that potential applicants can look is to look at LinkedIn, social media platforms. Follow most professors, most PhD students on LinkedIn. I'm there as well, and I do share tips. So that forms, I think, an important avenue for them to get the much needed tips as they make their application.
Awesome. Young, thanks so much for making the time to come to see us in London. Wish you all the best in your future endeavours. Have you been to Old Trafford yet? Did you finally get there, or not yet?
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the invitation. And it's been a pleasure. So yes, I went to Old Trafford.
You got there,
That was in 2022.
Okay.
Yes, I went there. It was
For a match
dream
or
come true.
for a tour?
Just for a tour.
Okay.
Went there with my family.
Nice.
So we're in Manchester for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes, just to a tour of Manchester, and one of the activities that we had was a stadium tour of Old Trafford.
Cool. Yeah.
And that's why this whole PhD journey, it's full of memories. It's I think it's the best, even if it's the longest I've stayed away from Zambia. But I think I've enjoyed the academic challenge that it comes with, the intellectual growth, the cultural diversity. I think the UK, with its education, it's about the people. It's about, the diversity, but also the inclusion that comes within spaces of, academics, universities, and social setup. So, it's been a great 4 years in the UK.
Thanks so much again for coming on the show, and see you soon.
Thanks, Sax. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching the episode with Young today on the Social Impact Journal. We release episodes every week on Mondays at 9 a.m. GMT, so hope to see you soon.